watch because it already feels like
A long
so
time
long
ago.
ago when that guy's voice comes on, CW. Anyway, so that's our show. The basic concept of our show. It's about a teenage girl who gets put back into custody of her fairly immature parents, Kate and Baze. And just to give you, I'll give you like a little backstory on it, just from, well, how many of you are writers or aspire to write in television or do write in television? Okay, so if this isn't, going in a way that's interesting, just let us know. Skew it. But I'll just start this way. But
Could you check this?
basically, all TV shows for the most part start as a pitch, which I actually was going to, for anyone who's interested, pass out my original pitch, which is this isn't the first version. The first version did not sell. This would be the version that's sold to the CW. So there's lots of words like wish fulfillment, and it's fun to not have parents. But it's like, the note on Party of Five, they're like, but Party of Five, but aren't they happy? It's a party. I know they're orphaned, but it's a party. So anyway, I just thought I would pass out this for anybody who wants it and is thinking of pitching their own stuff. Don't put it on the internet or anything, I'll seem like an asshole. It's like a young Jodie Foster. My descriptions are like lame, and it's embarrassing. But anyway, went in a few years ago and pitched this out, and just to go back a little bit, for those of you who are thinking of your own ideas, I always find that just when I try to come up with an idea, I always just try to think like, what's going on in my life right at this time? Like, what's not I want to write about my life, because in no way is the story about my life, but the character of Kate and myself we have similarities, let's just say. And so, as a writer, you're definitely drawing on your own life, and then of course when Sherry got cast, it became much more of a collaboration. So I think as a writer, I always like to just look at my life like, what's going on right now. For example, not right now, but I sold a show a few years ago, and it was called Split Decision, and it was like right after my boyfriend dumped me, and I was like, and he was like, if we're meant to be, it'll work out, it's fate. And I was like, I hate you, that's just your way of saying you want to have sex with other people, and I get it. Anyway, but it was super annoying, but I was like, wow, it must be nice to just think your whole life is about fate. Like, who can, I'm like, dear diary, I'm like, who cares about your decisions? It's just fate, But anyway, the idea got me so pissed off that it inspired this other show about a girl who, called Split Decision, a girl on her first day of school has a choice of which, it's pretty basic, it's like sliding doors in high school, which lunch table to sit at. And it shows how one insignificant decision changes not the course of her life in terms of all the normal coming of age things that happen to all of us, but she actually becomes a different person based on who she kind of sits with and who she befriends and who's her enemy and who she becomes. So the idea is that for me it was resonant because it was just talking about how it's not like the big decisions in your life, and it's not up to fate. It's like every little decision that you make affects every single thing that happens to you, and so that was the kind of inspiration for the story. With this show, it's a little bit different. I'm adopted, and I used to always kind of fantasize about who my birth parents are or were, and
Nancy Reagan.
And Nancy Reagan. I thought my birth mom was Nancy Reagan. And come on, a glass of wine. Nancy Reagan. And so anyway, this was very much, Kate and Baze, Sherry's character. This is very much like the type of mom I think I kind of wanted to have. This like glamorous, high profile, like professional, I don't know, just sparkly mom who's kind of, a bull in a china shop and doesn't really understand the path of destruction sometimes, but like those people are the most fun. So that's kind of the character. So the pilot, we actually, when I first sold it, it was the character of Kate in particular was actually very different. She was actually so you guys saw, she's a radio DJ on the show. She's engaged to this really great guy. She has this pretty nice life, even though, emotionally she's a bit of a mess,
yeah,
you would say.
Total disaster.
And when I first first came up with the idea, she was actually a bike messenger, or maybe even in that picture, valet, who was having an affair with a married guy, who was living with a bunch of people, but who was like getting kicked out and thought he was going to leave his wife for her. And she was just like much more of a mess. And I think Baze was kind of a corporate, more professional. There were different versions. Now he owns a bar, but he was like working in his dad's fish company, and then he was like a stoner security patrol guy. It went through like a lot of different versions, and that's kind of been the process of this pilot and of this series, is kind of, you know, obviously collaboration on the part of the studio and the network, and it's really evolved into, you know, the CW got a hold of it, and to prepare for this, I actually just read over the first draft that I ever wrote of this, which is so bad. I almost wanted to bring a scene to read it, just to make everyone feel like, obviously anyone can do this if I'm sitting up here, because it was horrible. But Kate was so mean, which I loved, and the note I got back was, she was strident, unlikable, nobody would ever want to be with her, which of course I felt like I just written myself, so it was like the CW, like, we like women who want to get married and have babies. We like women who don't lash out at other people because of their problems, but more like turn them inward. So there's been a bit of negotiation, I guess you could say, or like cutting, or like that. So it's evolved, it's kind of evolved in a lot of ways, and I would say that in a way Kate's character has kind of evolved the most from what it was. Okay. And yeah, and so, but I thought what might be kind of fun to do, because I found Shiri's audition, which I have not seen. Which she hasn't seen. And I thought it might just be interesting to talk about kind of, I mean, I don't know if anybody, you know, how many actors are in here, but certainly, obviously, as writers, we're aspiring to write for actors, so somebody will be doing our stuff. And I just thought it might be interesting to talk a little about the audition process and about, I brought some sides.
Okay. Is that from the audition?
I just brought our audition sides. I feel like I'm on like one of those shows that's like, now I'm going to show a commercial from when you were your camel suit, your Teddy Ruxpin or Cheerios. She did all this. Yeah. But you know, so obviously you go through this whole process of the pitch. If you're lucky, you sell it. You get to write it. If you're lucky and they don't throw the whole thing out, which we actually kind of did. We kind of did get it thrown out, weirdly. And it's also been interesting, because just looking at the old version, I can't believe how much actually changed. I think we must have written like 20 drafts of the script.
And also we were shot as a presentation.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even shoot us as a full pilot, and Gary Fleeter, who's our director, was like, we're going to just make a whole pilot in 7 days, because if we don't shoot a whole pilot, there's no way they'll pick us up. So we just basically, and it's kind of what we do now, we shoot in 7 days, but we only have, I think, like 30-something scenes, so every single thing that's in the script has to make it on TV.
Yeah. We don't shoot, like, you know, when I was on Brothers and Sisters, we would shoot, you know, 10 days, and maybe a whole storyline might be lifted out of the script. But for us, because we only have a 7-day shoot, you know, our scripts are maybe 45, 48 pages long, and we only shoot about 35 scenes. So it's very kind of compact. So there was, you know, such a big process from pilot to getting it on the air, and obviously the biggest thing you end up going through is casting. And Shiri was actually the last person cast. We could like not find our Kate, and then we found her. She came in. We didn't have to do much finding, really. We already knew about her. Gary had like wanted Shiri from the start. He was super familiar with her, and so we were really excited when she came in. And so you end up like picking the scene for the actor that you think would kind of give them the most to play with. Usually it's a few scenes, but what would give them the most to play with and kind of might show a turn for the character or reveal something, so that you can kind of see them playing one thing and then be able to see that they can switch gears and play something else.